Welcome. This is Hugh Massey, the CEO and founder of DNA Behaviour International. I'm delighted to be presenting to you the second module of our financial personality management training, and this is about the meaning of financial DNA. What we're talking about here is understanding at a greater level the meaning of financial personality, which is a person's financial DNA. We're very structured with this, but the point I want to get across to you is that there is two levels of a person's financial personality. Level one is the natural born DNA behavioral style that will remain stable throughout a person's life. This is their DNA. It is how they will consistently respond to different life and financial events. It's what we call the hardwiring. And in developing the financial DNA system, I wanted to know what the natural born DNA behavioral style was, because of the fundamental belief that when people are under pressure, they will revert back to it. This is the core of who they are. But what we also recognize is that a person's financial personality, how they deal with money and finances in life, will evolve over time. It will be influenced at any time by their environment, life experiences, values, and education. So in a sense, who a person is financially does change depending on the circumstances they're in. But regardless of a person's age, whether they're 18 years old or 75 years old, at the core, they will make decisions the same way. Of course, an older person might decide they won't take as much risk, or they won't spend as much money. They might delegate control to somebody else because they choose to, because that's what they feel is best based on experiences or knowledge at that particular time. But that doesn't mean their instincts have changed. And so this is the dynamic aspect that always must be recognized. But what we believe is important in helping clients make long-term decisions, build portfolios, is that we must start with understanding their natural born DNA behavioral style. It's the core of what we do. And we believe that the natural behavior and the learned behavior should be separately measured because they are different behaviors. So let's examine the financial personality brain in a little bit more depth and what's it made up of. We will argue that 95% of your financial personality is the natural DNA behavior. Again, to reiterate, it is the level one instinctive, automatic, hardwired behavior, which combined and modified by your learned behavior, which is around 5%, the more conscious part of who you are, makes up your financial personality. This is what drives the cognitive biases that now in the field of behavioral finance people talk about in terms of the imperfections in how each person makes decisions. After all, we're all humans, we're all flawed, we don't make decisions perfectly. We have particular biases, influences in our brains, a wiring that causes us to think about things differently, have perceptions, hang on to particular issues that drive our decisions. We all see things in different ways. A lot of that is ingrained in who we are. And as much as we all want to control our minds and think that we can manage ourselves, emotions will drive these behaviors even harder, and they will drive particularly the natural DNA behavior very hard, whether the emotions are positive or negative. So in a sense, the cognitive biases come out stronger when the emotions are at work and they've been triggered by events, and usually something to do with money and relationships triggers the emotional stimuli even harder. So what we're saying is, in terms of your financial DNA, it is made up of 95% nature and 5% nurture. The natural behavior is made up or formed by the time somebody is or you are 3 years old, and it is the combination of your genetics plus the early life experiences you have. This is when the neural pathways are formed in the brain, and they will remain very ingrained. So think of the Mississippi River running down the middle of your brain. That is formed in your brain by the time you're 3 years old. And then there's the nurture, which is the learned behavior. And again, people will continuously develop throughout their life, but we will always argue that the natural behavior remains constant. And there will be stronger learned behaviors that are picked up when a person is in the formative years of their life between the ages of 3 to 18. So some events there will be more ingrained, but something can be done about them if the person wishes to adapt. With coaching, help, just personal focus and drive, they can overcome some of those behaviors. The less ingrained behaviors, believe it or not, happen after the age of 19. Even though we all have significant life events that can be difficult to deal with later in life, we can address those events and modify our behavior. So that is the end of our second module about the meaning of financial DNA, and what we're going to do in the following module is take you in depth through the financial DNA discovery module.